What's up, guys? Julian here, and I am here to finally record another daily, talking about magic, and this is probably going to be my last time. For those of you, a lot of my friends watch these videos, but like a lot of my friends I know in real life, so they already know about this. But for those who haven't heard yet, I sold my magic collection, and I cashed out of magic, um, and it all happened. It all came to fruition because of my trip to Vegas that I had last weekend. So I went down to Star City, Vegas, and I was super excited. I was super confident. I had this band control deck I really liked in Standard. Maybe that was wrong. I don't know. Anyway, and then I had a Bug, Delver, and Legacy, which I also really, really liked. So, um, let's get into it, right? So day one, I was playing Standard, and round one, I played against another band control. Oh, I'm gonna start. Time out. I just want to apologize real quick for those of you who are my buddies and who have already heard these stories, because these stories, what I'm going to talk about, it's actually like the culmination of what led up to me selling my collection. Some of you have heard some of these stories. Some of you were present for all of it. The guys who traveled with my car, you were there the whole time. So if you've already heard it, sorry, noises and anyway, I had to step away for a second. Okay, so stories are important. I forgot what I was talking about before, so I'm sorry. It's going to look pretty bad cut. But anyway, okay, so let's talk about this now. So, okay, so day one is Standard. Round one, I play against another Bant deck, right? And he's playing Bant with creatures, like Angel's Friendlies and Centaur Healers in the main deck and things like that. And that is supposed to be like an unbelievably good matchup for me. I was playing the Reduke Bant deck, basically, a little bit of tweaks, but and it's supposed to be like an insane matchup for me, like not even close, right? And he just promptly 2-0s me. I just couldn't get what I needed. He was ripping like really good cards off the top, and couldn't hit more than one sweeper, and it was just ugly, right? And so I was really, really bummed that I lost round one. I was just like devastated. I was just really not devastated, but I was really disappointed that I had lost round one. And at the end of it, just to rub it in my face, he's like, "Oh, so it turns out he was like an F&M player, and this was his very first big tournament, which is fine, welcome to the tournaments." And then he says, "Oh, so is this the new band control deck I've been hearing about?" And I was like, "Yeah, I guess so. I guess this is it." And he looks and he's like, "Doesn't seem very good to me." And I'm like, "Thank you. Go die now. Thank you very much." Like, ugh. Anyway, I was really mad. So whatever, frustration, right? So then round two. I'm already in the loser's bracket, and I get paired up against the Naya mid-range deck, which is supposed to be another walk in the park for me. Which, like, the Bant deck is really good against creature decks, like especially ones that aren't very fast. So decks that like their curve is like Huntmaster, like healer, maybe Huntmaster, Thragtusk. That's great for me because like board sweepers are awesome. Sphinx Revelation is incredible. Like they just can't ever win. So I'm really excited about this, right? And game one, I get kind of mana screwed a little bit. I don't remember the exact game, to be honest, very well. But I didn't win when I normally do win those kind of games. And I was like, dang it. So we go to game two, right? And it's pretty back and forth. And he ends up with just one creature, just a Pilgrim in play. And I'm at like 6 life, and he has a Wolf Run and a whole bunch of lands. Like maybe 8 lands, like a lot of lands, right? And I'm like, all right. And I have a Sphinx Revelation in my hand. And I had like 10 lands in play. I had a lot, right? And like nothing else in my hand. And I'm like, all right, here we go. Time to rumble. So he, on his turn, he attacks with his Pilgrim, like to try to kill me, right? And I respond with a Sphinx's Revelation for 7. So I Sphinx Revelation for 7. And like that's how much he was hitting me for, I think. I could be wrong. Maybe he was hitting me for 6. Anyway, it was a 2-turn kill if I whiffed on the Sphinx Revelation, right? So I Revelation for 7, and I hit 6 lands and a Farseek, right? And like my other 3 games I played that day, I had not drawn very well. It had been really rough for me. And so I 6 lands and a Farseek, right? And I just stop and I just look at these cards. I'm just looking at, so I'm like, I got my hand here, like nothing, maybe like another land or something irrelevant in my hand. And then the cards I just drew, and I'm looking at them, and I just like this flood of like emotion hits me, right? And I'm like, I just took 2 days off of work and drove for a total of 12 or 15 hours and paid a bunch of money to have this happen to me. Like all the preparation I've done, everything that I've built and worked up to, because I knew that going O2 X2 means you can't top 8, right? And you really can't, and like X3 you can't even money. So it's like really bad to go X2. So I'm looking at these cards, and I'm like, I just did all of this to have this happen to me, right? And I was like, wow, like unreal. So he hits me, I untap, I hit another land, and I lose to a really good matchup, right? I needed one of a million cards, one of anything really would have done the trick there, but not that. And right then, I mean, the emotions that hit me right then were, of course, just very disappointed, huge, like that's it, I'm done. I was like ready to just go sell my standard deck right then and drop out of the tournament and like go explore Vegas. I didn't. Right? I stayed in. But then and that game was actually pretty fast. It ended in about 15 minutes total. So I had like 20, 30 minutes until the next round started. And I just sat there thinking to myself, like I can't be dedicating this much time, this much money, and this much effort into a game where that can happen to you, right? Where it's completely out of your control, where there's nothing you could have done. Now, in some games, sure, I might have been able to Azorius Charm a different creature instead of the creature that I did, or I might have been able to wait one more turn on a Sphinx Revelation, or not cast a Farseek when I did something. But really, I feel like I didn't make any mistakes those games. Like looking back, like looking through my notes, I don't think I made any glaring mistakes. I didn't forget to block. I didn't not Supreme Verdict when I could have. I didn't Supreme Verdict too early. I never felt like I had done that too early. I feel like I played the games pretty well. I just played as well as the cards I drew were going to let me play. I mulliganed, I think, every single game. All four, like round 1 and round 2. I think I mulliganed all of them at least once. Anyway, very disappointed. And I just sat there thinking, like, if I would have invested this much time and effort, like, into something else. Like, the example I was kind of thinking about and was telling people that day was something like chess, where there's no variance at all, right? If I would dedicate this much time and effort into chess, I know that when I sit down in front of an opponent, if I'm a better player than him, if I'm better prepared than he is, I'm going to win. Right? I mean, like, there's not variance in chess like there is in Magic. There's not variance in a lot of games like there is in Magic. And so I just thought, man, like, this is insane. Very discouraging, very disheartening. So then I end up winning the next 4 rounds in a row, which is kind of cool, but whatever. But it wasn't... It didn't change. I mean, it made me feel better about the trip, but it didn't make me feel any different about Magic. I was like, I think I'm done with this. I think after this day, I think after tomorrow when I go home, I think I'm going to be done with Magic. I think I'm going to try and start dedicating myself to something else, right? So I end up losing 2 more rounds later that day in Standard. I go 4-4 and then I drop. Very discouraged, very discouraged. And then that night we go out to Vegas. Man, okay, side story. Going out on the town to Vegas, that was my first time I've ever done that, right? Like, all it did was, like, tell me how much I need to get out of Utah. I don't like Utah at all. Utah is so boring, and it's so small, and there's nothing happening here. And, like, Vegas, oh, man, that was so, like, I want to live in Vegas, or, like, live in, like, D.C., or live in, like, New York. I can't live, I'm done with Utah. Ugh. Anyway, that was a side note. So then the next day, for Legacy, I had a pretty cool thing happen where round 1 I got paired up against Dave Williams, who's an incredible, World Series Poker Tour winner, and he's a Pro Tour winner, and the guy's insane, right? I got paired up against him round 1, and I won, which was really neat. Game 1 was a really close, really hard-fought game. I ended up getting it. And then game 2 he mulliganed 5, and I got the nut on him where I turned 1 Deathrite Shaman, and then he missed his second land drop. And turn 2, I wastelanded, and then I Toroked him, and it was just over. It was just over at that point. And, like, I won. I got to put 2-0 on my little scorecard against Dave Williams. But the second game it was not a game. It was not fun. I mean, it was lame. I felt bad. Like, whatever. And it just kept reassuring in my head, this is not the game for you anymore. And then another story. I'm just going to keep telling you guys these stories, right? Bad beat stories, I guess. Then I win. Then I lost to a deck that I just didn't know what it was. Which happens in Legacy, right? That's different. That doesn't bum me out very much. Nick Fit, I think was the name of the deck. And I lost 1-2, so I just didn't know what was going on. And then I won a couple more rounds, and then I lost to Goblins, which was rough, because that's a pretty good matchup for my deck. I have not lost to it before. And it came down to where game 1, I won. In game 2, I had to mulligan twice, and it was just rough, and so he kind of ran me over and whatever. And then in game 3, I kept a hand that was Bayou, Wasteland, Tarmogoyf, Hinda Torok, Abrupt Decay. Yeah, okay, yeah, that was it. And I had to keep that hand, right? I have to keep it. I can do everything with that hand. And then I ripped only blue cards for the rest of the game and didn't get another land. And that was like the most horrific feeling. I mean, it was just like, this is awesome. This is so great. We had these big battles. It was like, okay, like you know, he's trading for these, I'm trading for those. He traded a whole bunch of creatures for a Tarmogoyf. It was great. He had nothing in play. He had an Aether Vial that was on 4 and like 7 lands in play. Like, I didn't see them out of lands. And I still had my 2 Bayous, and then I had like, you know, 3 Brainstorms and a Ponder and a Delver and like all these blue cards, right? And of course, he rips a Goblin Ringleader off the top and plays it and gets 4 goblins and then plays 3 of them, including like a War Marshal and then a Lackey, hits me and then drops his last into play, which is another Ringleader, and then he gets more goblins. I mean, it was just like the most sickening thing. He was top decking anyway. It doesn't matter. So these things happen, right? And so that whole weekend, I'm like, you know, blah, 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 I can't play this game. And so, yeah, so I came home from Vegas, and I the next day I went to the local shop here, Oasis, and I sold all my cards. And I'm done. And the reason is because of what I said before, that I can't dedicate myself to a game where you can lose to variants like this. Now, some people will say, well, that's just Magic. And for as much as you get, you know, variants against you, your opponent gets it against them, and it's, you know, it balances itself out. And it's true, it probably does. And I'm not, like, disillusioned. Is that I don't know if that's the right word. I don't think in my head that I get worse variants than somebody else does, right? Or that Magic hates me more than it hates other people. I know people like that. I know people who say I can't play Magic because I only get the worst draws. I know I always open bad packs, and like, you know, I get worse variants than everybody else, and that's just not true. It's just statistics, right? It's just numbers. But what I do know is I don't want to play a game where that exists. Variance has always been the thing I like the least about Magic. That's why I don't like Limited very much. I don't like Cube all that much. I don't understand Cube, but I don't like variance in Magic at all. I wish that there wasn't variance, but which is weird. Whole different game, right? Like, you can't play Magic and not have variance. It's just whatever. So yes, I don't think that I don't get variance. I mean, I get variance more than other people. I don't think that at all. I just don't want that in my life. I don't want a game where that happens. So I started telling people about this, telling some of my friends, and they would say things like, "Well, there's variance in every game, right? There's variance," and I was like, "Oh," because they asked me, "What do you think you're gonna do?" And I was like, "I don't know. I'm gonna try League of Legends. I have never played that. I played it once a year ago, like twice, 2 games, but like I've never really played League of Legends. I'll try that. Maybe I'll go back into StarCraft 2. I might try and go a different way. I thought about making these videos about atheism. Anyway, all these different things I thought of, and someone said, "Well, you know, there's variance in every game. You know, wherever you go, you're going to encounter the same kind of variance." And that's just not true. That's just a poor understanding of what I'm talking about. Because in Magic, you have like chaos variance, right? Which is like, no matter what you do, the order of your deck is going to dictate what happens in this game, right? And that's true. After you both shuffle, you present your decks. The order of those decks, as long as if you are both on the same level, the order of your decks now dictates who's going to win this game. If you make every play the right way, you know. Anyway, and I try and liken it to people, like, it'd be like as if in League of Legends, if you were running and you were about to, like, maybe your jungler's about to come in and you're about to gank someone, and then all of a sudden, like, a hole opens up in the ground and just, like, eats your champion. Just eats him up. And there's nothing you could have done. You're just like, oh, well, okay, I guess I get eaten by the hole. And then you're dead. And you have to go back and you just spawn again. Like, that's the kind of variance I'm talking about, right? Variance is just completely random, completely out of your hands. And sometimes you lose because of it. Now, if you think that's not true, that is true, and I'm sorry. Like, if you look at what, you know, what happened is I was talking with Ruben Bressler, and I was talking with some of the pros that were down there about how they won how they got their breakthroughs. And if you read articles, it's the same, which is that you prepare like crazy, you get as ready as you can, and then you got to get lucky. You got to get lucky to make a big break, and that's just the way it is in Magic. That's just how Magic works. You have to get lucky sometimes. We have to get lucky in order to win, like a Pro Tour. I'm not trying to say that, like, you only win Pro Tours on luck. People are going to misunderstand what I'm saying, and I wish I could convey it better. Because of course you need an incredible amount of preparation. Your deck needs to be as perfect as you can make it. You need to understand the metagame. You need all these things to happen, but then you also need some things to just go right in order for you to win that Pro Tour. And if you disagree, ask any pro player that's won a Pro Tour or that's done well in any event. They need a little bit of luck to get there sometimes. And I just don't want to wait for that. I don't want to wait for my big breakthrough. Too much money, too much time, it's not worth it. And so that's it. That's the reason I'm leaving Magic. And that's the reason I'm moving on to other things. It's because of that. Now, of course, I'm going to miss my friends. I mean, I'm going to see my friends, but not all of them. Not all of you. I wish I would, but we know it's not. I mean, I would love to see you, but without magic to tie us together, we're not going to be able. We're not going to have time to hang out. We're not going to be able to find each other. You guys know how that is. You stop doing a hobby, or someone stops doing a hobby, and you just kind of drift away a lot of times. I love you all. I hope you'll stay subscribed to the channel. You know, I don't know what's gonna. I'm gonna be putting up different videos of different things, and I know that I love making content, and I know that I love producing things. I just don't know what I want to do with it yet, and that's the end for me. I love you guys a lot. I love this game of Magic. I do. I still love it. I just can't play it anymore.